Welcome to Chat with the Prez. This is Leslie Vargas, Riverside Community College District Public Affairs Officer. Sit back and enjoy engaging conversations with students, colleagues, and community leaders, all hosted by Moreno Valley College President, Dr. Rudy Besikof.
Pull up a chair, as always, and join Leslie and me for episode number 14, From Mountain Lion Nation to City Hall, One Mayor's Path to Leadership. What a title. Oh my goodness. Leslie, this episode is really special because our guest, Moreno Valley Mayor Ulises Cabrera, knows what it's like to walk the halls of Moreno Valley schools, both high school and college, and now lead the city itself.
Dr. Rudy, you're right. Mayor Cabrera's story is a perfect example of how education can open doors and inspire community leadership. Today, we'll explore his journey from Valley View High School, whoop whoop, to Moreno Valley College, then to UC Riverside, and eventually to becoming the youngest directly elected mayor in the city's history. We'll also discuss what it takes to serve in the city as a mayor, the challenges and rewards of public service, and practical advice for students who might want to pursue careers and leadership in government.
Hopefully there's some practical advice for college presidents in there as well.
Yes.
But Leslie, you know what, before we get started though, could you remind our listeners how they can interact with the show, either during, before, or after?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. Listeners can email us at prezhour@mvc.edu, like us on Facebook at Moreno Valley College, and follow us on Instagram and X at Moreno Valley College. Dr. Besikof is also on social media, where you can find him on Instagram at Dr. Besikof and on YouTube at Dr. Besikof Talks Education.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm Rudy Besikof, very proud president of Moreno Valley College, the only public higher education game in town since 1991, and as always, proud home of Mountain Lion Nation. You know, like so many things in the president's office, this show comes together as the result of teamwork. In addition to my esteemed co-host, Leslie, Chris Rangel keeps us looking and sounding good behind the camera. And others in my office certainly collaborate and come together to get us outstanding guests, such as our mayor today. Co-hosting with me, as always, is Leslie Vargas. Leslie, you know, I was thinking about our show today and wanted you to go back a little bit. Do you remember the first time you held any sort of office, maybe at school, got elected to something? Can you share that?
Oh yeah, so since elementary, I always ran for office at my schools all the way through high school. And I was actually either president, vice president, or secretary pretty much at every club that existed on campus. What about you?
Okay, well, here we go. Actually, Denver South High School. Denver South has not gotten any love on this show like Valley View has so far, but I was student body vice president my senior year.
Oh, wow.
And the campaign was pretty intense. A lot of, magic markers on those sticker badges. And the slogan was, do your duty,
Vote for Rudy.
That's right there. Mayor Cabrera, welcome to the program. Can you tell us any interesting campaign stories, or maybe not do your duty, vote for Rudy, but something along that line?
That's a great question. First of all, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure and honor to be
Pleasure
here.
is ours, sir. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's hard to top. You know, just off the top, I was not aware of that. But I guess when I first ran my first campaign for mayor, I had to come up with a very catchy slogan. And so I thought, what is one symbol that really represents and unites all of Moreno Valley? And you look at the M Mountain. And so we went with that as our main logo. And our slogan was, at that time, a brighter city is rising, right? So just to speak to the progression, the development of our city, and also how much further we still have to do.
So really kind of just the area you serve over self, which
Exactly.
maybe I could have done that instead of do your duty, vote for Rudy. But Mayor Cabrera, certainly want to say welcome back to your old stomping grounds. We're so proud of you as one of our most cherished alums. And we're really thrilled to have you here today. Certainly looking forward to hearing about your own educational journey. I understand it actually has spanned several states, but always seemed to lead you back here to Moreno Valley. As mentioned and applauded, you attended Valley View High School, spent some time at Lone Star College in Texas, and then came home to MVC before graduating cum laude from UCR. That's amazing. So let's start right here. When you look back just at your first semester at MVC, was there something, maybe a moment or somebody here such as a mentor, maybe in the TRIO program, that made you realize that you were capable of leading a city?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, a tough one because there's so many different memories or points in time that I can, really point to. But I guess I'll go back to one of the classes that I had here on campus was poli sci class with Dr. Slavic, Professor Slavic at that time. I'm not sure if he's even here anymore. If he is, would love to surprise him one day and stop by his class. But remember, and we're gonna get political, right? Like obviously, what I do is political. But I remember a powerful moment where during one of his classes, he took a moment at the time Attorney General Jeff Sessions had just come on to do a live press conference announcing the end of DACA. And I will never forget that moment, that the professor took the time out of his class to let us see that and really take that in the moment as it was happening. And obviously, as a son of Mexican immigrants and family members that are, DACA recipients, et cetera, and so many of our students also that have benefited from so many programs like that, that certainly was a moment I'll never forget, along with all the commencements that I've been able to attend. It's just always a beautiful moment.
How did your time here prepare you for UCR?
It prepped me very, very well. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Moreno Valley College after attending so many other campuses and even out of state, was because I wanted to make sure that I really go back to my roots here in the community, right? That I am literally boots on the ground with the community that I live in, that I serve, and just start building those relationships, right? Before I made that transition over to UC Riverside, so many commonalities, from professors to faculty, staff, students that go on to UCR, and then kind of go back and forth, in different capacities. So it just helped me out in so many ways to have that community, that village behind me, to help set me up for success.
Leslie, I know before the show we talked about kind of that decision a student has. Should I stay in my community? Should I go in the pressure that's there? I know you had some good questions about that.
You're right. So that is definitely something that many of our students face, right? The pressure to leave hometown, to find success. You talked a little bit about this. You stayed and you invested in your town. How did becoming a mountain lion give you a unique perspective or needs for your community that maybe you wouldn't have gained if you had immediately went off to a 4-year university, or maybe even speaking to those students who say, I got to just get out to get out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to be said about that. And I think at the end of the day, everyone has a different path, right? We all have a unique journey, and some of us figure out what our destiny or our purpose or our goals are earlier on. And some of us take a little bit more time. I was one of those that took a little bit more time to, get my bachelor's and do what I needed to do. But I think at the end of the day, it was really, being on campus firsthand, listening from the students, from the families, from faculty and staff, to hear from them first person. What are the concerns? What's going on in the community? What are their lived experiences? And what are the needs of the community, right? For education or everything else outside of campus, being able to learn, right? So I can build that policy, because one of the things that I think most policymakers make this error of, and I learned this at Harvard in a course that I took over there, was not assuming that we have all the solutions. When you get into that seat and you have the title and you're wearing the hat, don't assume you have the solutions. Really dive into the data and the statistics and the testimony and the community feedback and input, and then formulate your solutions based off of that. And I think that was a critical part of what I was able to learn and take in from being here and being in the
That's actually excellent advice. I know some people have suggested to me that I should get rid of, I have a bumper sticker that says, give me patience, ... and then in capital letters, right now. So I think a lot of what your answer is, it rings true. Leslie, I have to say something. I know we've had a number of guests.
Yes.
And a number of people who've come on are outstanding public speakers. And who is the best public speaker you've ever seen? That's a tough answer, but who is the most relaxed public speaker you've ever seen? And I've had the benefit of attending so many things where Mayor Cabrera has spoken, and I have to give him that title. Just when he gets in front of a microphone, in front of a podium, it looks like he's right at home. Mayor Cabrera, what's your secret?
That's a good question, because patience is something that I've certainly had to learn myself, right? I'm a workhorse. I just want to go. And it's really hard for others to keep up oftentimes, because I'm just in that mindset constantly, right? At night, blasting off emails and coming up with new ideas. And that's just how I'm built and how I'm made. And so figuring out how you really focus that energy, and tailor that and hone in on specific goals so that you can accomplish it as opposed to just, being
Right.
everywhere all at once, right? I think a lot of it is practice. A lot of it is
Okay.
practice because now you see this, mayor with the suit on and the glasses and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I remember my communications class in 7th grade in Texas. Got up to speak for the first time in front of 30 students. I was sweating, I was stuttering, I was shaking, shivering. Like I could barely get a sentence out of my mouth. And so most like the famous Allen Iverson quote, right? Practice. Practice, 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 and it just.
I don't think he was encouraging practice. Yeah,
no, but that's what I got out of it, right?
Yeah.
A message of just getting your reps in at the gym, right? Like you have to go through and just get it out of your system, right? Like if you're afraid of heights, go skydiving, right? Like things like that, right? Just walk into the fire and face the fear, make the fear you. That's the type of mentality that I've had to build over the years.
I guess what I've always said to myself, and who knows, hopefully it's translated okay, is that butterflies are good, and as soon as it's time to start talking, it becomes rocket fuel. And just, can you manage the rocket fuel? But second most composed speaker I know is Leslie Vargas. Leslie, what has your secret been? Because we've done stuff on the radio, we get in front of these cameras, and you look like you're having fun when you're doing it. What's your secret, just in terms of managing public speaking stress?
Well, I guess I don't have a great story like you had, but I've always been a person that likes to speak. But I think my biggest way to manage it is I always like to tell myself that, my family really knows me. Everybody knows that I could just be myself because they don't know what to expect from me anyways, that whatever they get, they're going to enjoy it.
At the end of the day, be yourself. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to stay kind of on this wavelength of giving advice. You've had this journey here at Moreno Valley College, one that many of our students are engaging in right now. And probably like those students, you had moments in your journey maybe where you were struggling a little bit. You talked about figuring out what you want to do. So we're in about week 4 right now in our semester. This is the first time when students are starting to get their test scores back, maybe not all of them 100.
Yeah.
Starting to question, starting to struggle. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think, again, just to continue on this theme of, patience and practice and perseverance and consistency, right? I think, again, all of us have a unique journey and it's different. We all, one day everything is going perfectly fine, everything is going great, right? You just got some amazing news. And then the next day life throws a curveball at you and something completely unexpected out of left field comes out. But it's about, how do you get back up, dust yourself off, and keep a smile on your face, right? No, we all go through things. No matter how successful you are, how rich you are, how poor you are, whatever you may be going through, we all go through ups and downs. It's a natural part of life. There are seasons, and you just have to find that inside of you, deep down inside of you, to keep pushing through. No matter.
So what's on your tool belt that helps you get up and dust yourself off?
Knowing your why, knowing your purpose, why you do it, what wakes you up in the morning. Right.
Okay.
For me now, it's my family. Right. It always has been, but now I have my children. Right now, I have my wife. Right. And every day, no matter what, I can come home from a long council meeting, a pretty contentious council meeting, or an event or whatever that may be, and I get to come home and my son runs up data, and like there's nothing like that feeling, And so to be able to do what I do to make a better world for them, and at the same time make a better world for all families and all children in Moreno Valley and beyond. That is what gives me fulfillment, and that's why I do what I do, and I love it.
Wow. Outstanding conversation here with Mayor Ulises Cabrera, and just want to remind our amazing audience that you are tuned in to Chat with the Prez, available on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. The show can also be found on YouTube. 50 subscribers. We hit the mark finally on the Dr. Besikof Talks Education channel. We'll talk about a literal mic drop moment.
Look, yes. 50, wow.
So any advice you would give to someone who is a second-year student, or maybe getting into kind of that home stretch here at community college, getting ready for either a career or for transfer?
Yeah, great question as well. I think one of the things that I'm still to this day practicing and trying to get better at is procrastination, right? I just, that curse of procrastination and waiting until the last minute, and just don't do it, y'all. Don't do it. Get your things done, stay on top of things, stay ahead of things. As soon as deadlines open, apply, just execute, get it done. Do not wait, because that will catch up to you very quickly. So yeah, I know you might feel, the time, oh, it's my MVC, I'm almost done, but just keep pushing, keep pushing. There's always a time and place to relax and slow down, but just get your goals, in mind, and keep that in as part of your vision, and just keep pushing. So I think, yeah, just no procrastination,
Okay, so a lot of that kind of first semester sense of urgency.
Yes.
Keep it going. That's what
Keep
I'm
that fire.
hearing.
Keep
All
that
right.
fire.
How about, okay, you know what, Leslie, I think it's time for the Back to the Future DeLorean question.
Okay.
If 2026 Mayor Cabrera could go back and talk to college student Ulises, what advice would you give yourself?
Wow, you're throwing some tough questions at me, making me really think, right?
Okay.
Introspective. That's a tough question. I think I probably would spend even more time just being active and engaged with my colleagues, with my classmates. Because I had a weird timeline where I was already a council member and kind of involved in the politics, there was this kind of sense of like, oh, he's up on a pedestal, or he's up on, some higher level, and maybe don't talk to him or avoid him. Like, I wish I kind of would put more emphasis on trying to break through that and really build those relationships even more than I did. Because I just, we'll talk about UCR, but that was another thing, like sitting in class and, oh, there's an elected official sitting in my classroom, it just kind of changes the dynamic. So trying to make people feel more comfortable and just being more real, being more authentic. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does actually. Very great introspection. So 22 years old, that's when you first became a member of the city council.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what led you to take such a bold step?
I have to rewind a little bit
Sure.
and go back to my 10 years in Texas, where when I lived in Austin for approximately 1 year, the BP oil spill had just happened in the Gulf of Mexico, and Russia was moving into Crimea at the time, prior to everything happening with Ukraine. And those two things I vividly remember just clicked something in my mind, where I realized finally that my generation at the time, I was 17, 18, all of our concerns, our issues were being kicked down the road by Congress and our elected officials, especially in Texas at the time. And so I figured, well, let me take some of this responsibility on my shoulders. I can hide under a rock and, have a good life, but I just felt this pull to get involved and be part of the solution, as difficult as I may be. And so, those are two current events in history that I could point to, and just really trying to be part of the solution for my generation.
So speaking to process, what steps did you have to take at 22? I mean, was it forms? Was it paperwork? Was it letters?
Yes. So a lot of paperwork, a lot of, documents and bureaucracy and red tape. That's government. At 22, go to City Hall, right? Okay, what do I have to submit? What's the process? What are the deadlines? What are the fees? Because you don't think about these things. Like sometimes people want to jump in, but you don't realize you have to pay fees to get your name on the ballot, and you have to do a lot of work. It's not just because, you have great ideas or you might be a good person. All of that stuff matters, but there's a lot of stuff that's, underneath the water and the underneath part of the iceberg. And so, yeah, a lot of just, you have to do your research. Going back to some of the other questions that you asked, make sure that you're asking the right questions. You're talking to the right people. Put yourself in those rooms, right, at the right time. So it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And you never know who you're going to run into that person again at the most random time, seemingly, but probably the most important point in your life.
Wow.
Yeah. So then, so you file everything. Let's just actually, somebody might be listening who's 22 and saying, why not me? Why not now?
Absolutely.
If an election is in November, okay, how far beforehand should someone rewind their clock to get started?
Well, if it's Ulises Cabrera thinking about running for office, it's like 2 years in advance, right?
Okay.
I
Wow.
I
So that kind of debunks the whole thing about procrastination.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, right?
Mhm.
Because just because I announce doesn't mean I have the whole plan
Right.
prepared and ready. I'm kind of building the plane in the air.
Mhm.
But that's always kind of how I've done things.
Okay.
You know, I take that leap of faith more
Mhm.
often than not, and I figure things out as we go. And I just have trust in the process, you know, and surround yourself with people who help augment your weaknesses and your strengths, right? Because we have enough people in the world that, you know, it's all about them and they have all the answers and they're the king. We need more servant leaders, people who are willing to hear constructive criticism and listen to feedback and be willing to pivot and change your approach and relying on subject matter experts, right? So
Okay, so the last I checked, I believe, and you can correct me, population here is 270,000, something like that. Is that?
it's about plus or minus 217,000.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
close. I
right,
got the
right,
two
right.
part
You were
right.
close. You were close.
So there's just Ulises, and then there's this entire municipality, and you have an amazing story. How do you get it out so it's such that more than 50% of the people end up voting for you for city council? How did you kind of mushroom your story out, if you
Yeah,
will?
that's a great metaphor, actually, right? The spores and all that kind of stuff.
I don't even like mushrooms that much, but okay.
It's just a natural
Except on pizza, Leslie. I'm good with that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I love pizza. So part of it, a big part of it, arguably, honestly, the most important part of it, going back to your previous question also, is how involved are you in the community? You know, are you showing up? Are you present? Are you boots on the ground? Are you going to the food banks and the food pantries? Are you going to read at your local schools? How involved are you? You know, volunteering. Who, how many people have seen your face? How many people have met you? How many hands have you shaken? All of that matters. And it's not just performative, right? Like you need to have heart and intention behind it, right?
People pick up quickly if you don't, right?
Yes. If you're not authentic, people, the vibe check, you won't pass that vibe check, you know? And so that was a huge part of it. At 22, it was just Ulises Cabrera. Now I'm a dad, a husband, etc. A lot more responsibilities. Now I'm the mayor. At the time, I was just a council member, 22 years old, for one council district. I had all the time in the world. So people would ask me, how do you do it? You're everywhere. How do you do it? I had all the time on my hands. I had not many responsibilities at the time.
But what I'm hearing from you is that really what is it? Good luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly.
And it sounds like before you made this decision to throw your hat in the ring, you had already been engaging
Yes.
and kind of coming with social capital in the bank once you announced your candidacy. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'll share an actual example that happened that illustrates your point there. When I moved back from Texas, this was the end of 2016, about Christmas 2016, and then I got elected June of 2017. So that's only like 7 months, right?
Wow.
And it was, again, something unexpected. But at the time when I came back, I founded a nonprofit with my brother called Spirit Lift. It was all about youth mentorship and empowerment. And at the time, we would meet at the Cupcake Espresso Bar. Shout out to them, not paid sponsorship, but would have our
Actually, as much as this college orders food from them, we
love
should,
the espresso bar.
Leslie, we should reach out for a sponsorship. Yeah, go ahead.
Love their cupcakes and their coffee. So we would have our book clubs every Sunday at the Espresso Bar on Moreno Beach. And lo and behold, at the time, the mayor at the time happened to, cross paths with us, wanted to join our book club. And then he ended up getting directly elected mayor, and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, are you interested in running for city council?" Absolutely, yes. So
Wow.
preparation and luck all, simultaneously, and things will work out. Things will work out.
You just said not
So
who you know. He said not who you know, but who knows you.
Yeah.
Because that's how
Yeah.
he knew you. Is that
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
good advice for the students.
And I'll neither confirm nor deny that location of Cupcakes and Espresso serves as an exterior office for me. I won't do that.
Same here.
And that not that I love their pastries and their iced coffees either. That's something that's there. But making the step from someone who's running for office to being in office, a member of the city council, obviously, I guess it's Tuesday nights, you're on camera, but there's so much more that goes into that job. Could you tell us a little about that?
Absolutely. There's a lot. People see the surface, but all of the behind the scenes, it just kind of flies under the radar. And so that's where it's important to share them, get that out to the community, share the good news, because nowadays most of what we see is the bad news, the drama, the clickbait. How do we figure out a way to penetrate that zeitgeist and get the good information out there of, what are the grants that we're awarding, what are the new parks that are coming, the dog park, the senior center expansion, the museum, new businesses opening, new programs for childcare, after school programs. Like, how are we intentional about getting that information out? And that's where you have to collaborate with staff, with, being on this podcast, right, is the start of one of those opportunities. But you have to put the effort behind it. And really, as a leader, yourself being an executive of the college and myself being an executive over at the city, we have to convince and share that vision with the rest of our team, right? To find those commonalities, those common goals, those shared interests, and how do we hone in on those and drive those to share it with the community.
So all of that was happening as a city council member. What led to the decision to run for mayor?
That was a tough decision, and we're being real, right? We're being candid. And so I was 50-50 retiring or running for mayor, because as LeBron James said, I'll never forget, in the last closing press conference of the last season, he got the question again of, how much longer are you going to do this? And his response was, well, I've been sacrificing, the biggest sacrifice is my family for 21, 22 years. How much longer do I want to do that? But sometimes those sacrifices are necessary and important, right, for the greater good. And so ultimately I looked at, if I don't run for mayor, who am I leaving it up on a silver platter for? And I would never be able to sleep at night knowing I was just walking away and leaving it in the hands of people that shouldn't be in that seat. And that ultimately drove me to make the decision to run for mayor.
Okay.
Wow.
And so is there perhaps in the future a point where, for example, the gubernatorial race that's coming up in California, Gavin Newsom's name is not going to be on the ballot, because obviously he's made a decision, I think, to run for a higher office perhaps. At what point do you realize, maybe just as an elected official, it's time to maybe see if I can move up? Is there a clock, or is there something that tells you it's time?
Again, I don't think there's any, clear, perfect playbook for anybody, because we all have different, lives and responsibilities and things that happen to us. But I think part of it is finding the best opportunity, right? Because there is some strategy behind it. Obviously, you don't want to run against somebody that is beloved and has a great reputation and has delivered results, and your chances are slim. Why are you actually running? Is it just to get your name out there? Like a lot of gubernatorial candidates that may come up on Facebook ads and all that, they're doing it to build a brand. They're not doing it because they're actually serious about winning. So they're just trying to get their name
It's
out
back
there.
to the why then, isn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's performative. And so I think definitely some strategy. You got to look at, okay, who's up, who's terming out? Is this person delivering or not? Is it time for them to go? Sometimes it is time to force or nudge people out of office because they're just so out of touch. You look at Congress on both sides right now. Again, we're being candid, right? Certain people that have just been there for so long that are just so detached from what the everyday American lives. So maybe not the clearest answer, but part of it also is preparation. Like you have to have a track record, ideally, to point to and say, hey, look, this is the work that I've done. And now I want to be able to deliver this through this seat or this municipality or jurisdiction. May I have that opportunity? And so it's a combination of all these things.
And I think really fast, it's good that you said they get it detached, because you have smaller children and you highly care about parents and the things that working parents face because you're in that role, versus, let's say, you 20, 30 years from now, your kids are grown, like, to not be in that. So why is it important to stay attached to the issues that all people go through, even as you elevate in your career?
Yeah, I mean, perfect example, because then we don't really have that heart anymore. We allow other aspects of life, like money or fame and other things, to take priority in our policy decisions. And that's not a good thing, in my opinion. We have to be community-centered, community-centric, have the people first and foremost, in all the decisions that we make. And having children allows me to understand what all parents go through, right? When they're deciding to register them for school for the first time, or where are they going to take them to daycare, who's going to be their babysitter, their nanny, how expensive it is to raise a child, and how you have to calculate that into your budgets. You understand. And not being in those shoes, like me, I can never fully understand what it's like to be president of a college, because I just don't have that lived experience. Maybe one day, who knows? But and then vice versa, like being a mayor, it's just it's not until you're wearing those shoes and you're in that seat that you can actually understand the struggles that people have to go through. And that's again where I'll go back to, even though I'm not a teacher or a professor or a lawyer or anything like that, I can rely on the subject matter experts, the people that are actually have been doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that know, that speak that language, and I can turn to them and say, hey, what do you think about this, right?
Yeah, no, a lot of what you're getting into is some of those subtle nuances between management, but then visionary leadership and kind of the bridge to those. This is a fascinating conversation. I can't believe we're already halfway home. Can you stick around for a little while, talk some more?
I'm not going anywhere.
All right, well, I will take this moment to remind our audience, as always, you are tuned in to Chat with the Prez. Available on what, Leslie? Help me out.
We're on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube,
iHeartRadio.
yeah.
Excellent. So available on all those outlets. Well, as we transition at this point in the show, I'll go ahead and remind our listeners that Moreno Valley College supports students with scholarships, including my very own MVC President's Excellence Fund. This is for currently enrolled students who may, in the middle of the semester, be experiencing a hiccup, flat tire, missing books, or just something that throws in an unexpected obstacle. If you are in the middle of the semester and enrolled and experiencing something like this, reach out to my office at 951-571-6161. Who knows, Leslie might even answer the phone, or maybe I will. Who knows? And we'll provide information about this great scholarship opportunity. Of course, somebody's got to pay for those things.
Yes,
we
they do.
need donors, right? And to support students this way. Moreno Valley College partners with the RCCD Foundation, and we jointly invite companies, community leaders, and members of the public to consider giving to the President's Fund or other scholarships that match up to your interests. Perhaps you're someone who came up and got your realtor's license through MVC and you want to give back and do something as specific as a fund for a student majoring in real estate. We can make that happen.
Yes, we can.
And you know what? Besides the warm fuzzy and the benefit of just feeling great about helping somebody, I will also share that all charitable gifts to MVC are tax deductible and processed through the Riverside Community College Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. To donate, please visit the foundation website at rccd.edu/foundation or email them at foundation@rccd.edu. However, gifts are a personal thing. And if you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly at Rudy, R-U-D-Y, period, Besikof, B-E-S-I-K-O, 1F, just 1F, not 2, at mvc.edu. And just as a last word, I'll say to our employees, as always, I'll share that monthly payroll deduction can make all the difference. Even the cost of just 1 cup of coffee per week, Leslie, you do that for a year, what could that turn out to be?
That could actually be 2 classes for a student to take.
Full tuition for 2 classes.
A Chromebook, and now I keep throwing it out there, one of those expensive calculators required for those higher end math classes.
That's right. So if you have questions, colleagues, about monthly payroll deduction, please reach out to me directly and I'll be glad to help with that. Also, very timely recognition for our spotlight on a partner of Moreno Valley College. And I want to actually put the spotlight today on our very own city council, which has invited me to come and present this evening about Moreno Valley College at your study session tonight.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to doing that. So
Looking forward to having you.
anyway, all right. So just want to come back to, and again, welcome you back to the program. How you feeling so far, halfway into a podcast?
I can't believe it's already halfway. I need to come back again. This is amazing.
All right. You've touched on it briefly, but let's just come right out of the gate and talk personally for a second. You've talked about family. Tell us more about what that means to you.
Yeah, family, of course, our immediate, blood relatives, but also beyond that, right? Who else is part of your extended family, right? The community and the organizations that you're involved with, right? Family for me, at the risk of sounding like Vin Diesel, right? It's everything. It's everything, and my entire world revolves around, my children, my wife, my parents, right? for me, my parents gave everything, to be able for me to have this life that I live today. And so part of that also is, how do I one day get into a position where I can give everything back to them, to allow them to retire, to enjoy the rest of their lives and to be happy. They work their entire lives so that I can wear this suit and be here on this podcast. And that to me is everything.
So how do you strike a balance between public life and family life?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because at the end of the day, we have limited time in the day. We can rewind the Netflix movies and shows, but you can't rewind the sun. However, we know that the sun always comes up in the morning, and we have to make the most of the time that we have. And so being able to say no is something that I've had to learn. As much as you don't want to. You want to say yes to everything. And I used to be able to. You just can't. At a certain point, I have kids. I got to get home and feed dinner and put them to sleep and take them to school and all those things. And so you have to be able to. How do you prioritize? How do you split your time between different things? How do you say no to certain things? And
in the midst of that, oh, by the way, there is the self. There's somebody named Ulises as well. So
that too.
Self-care, especially in high stress, high pressure roles and with family responsibilities. How do you work self-care into that?
Yeah, that's an important point, because you have to take care of yourself. And if you're not, at some point you're going to start burning out, and then it's going to reflect in your service and your occupation. So for me, again, all of us have different likes and wants and desires and things like that. But for me, outside of being with my family, taking my son to the park or eating some good food, I'm definitely a foodie. Like working out as well. I have never been super athletic or anything, but as I get older, my knees start to squeak when I go up the stairs now. So going out for a jog or doing calisthenics or hitting the gym, you're eating better, sleeping more, trying to get off the phone all the time. Just again, it's practice. It's practice. Sure. How do you build these routines? Playing the guitar. I used to write a lot of poetry. I'm a creator by nature. I used to do vlogging. I used to run up and down the mountain right here to the peak, and with my guitar, with my camera and my tripod, and run down the mountain and
we got to do some YouTube searches.
Wow.
Yeah, they're on YouTube. They're not public.
So Mayor Cabrera scales mountain with guitar on back. Okay. Had a chance to, and believe it or not, there is some show prep here. We do that sometimes. And one of the things I certainly did, I just wanted to know about you, and I looked up your profile, and little did I know that reading your profile, I'd essentially have all the questions I was going to ask you for the next 25 minutes or so. So I want to start with one thing that you said is important for you, that you chase for Moreno Valley, and that's more inclusivity. Could you speak to that a little bit? What does that mean to you, and how do you do it?
100%. So I think I'll point to one example where, when I was elected mayor, several of our city boards and commissions could not meet due to lack of quorum, because they didn't have any members. They didn't have any commissioners who were appointed. And we won't talk about why or anything like that. But when I took over as mayor, one of the first things that I did was bring forth a slate of dozens of candidates, of applicants, to fill those seats and bring the community into City Hall to be a part of the decision, to be at the table, as opposed to just being in the audience and watching and listening. So that was one of the things when we talk about inclusivity, right? How do you bring those people from all different walks of life, different levels of experience, from teenagers to seniors, veterans, engineers, you name it? How do we bring them in? And that was one of the first things.
Who's somebody that when you approached them, they said, "Who, me? Not me, but now it was absolutely the right thing to do, and they've accomplished so much"? Is there somebody specific that you can think of that you brought the suggestion to, that they turned it into a pot of gold?
Yeah, I think I'll point to one. There's so many, so apologies if I'm not naming you, because there's so many people that I can point to. But actually, another alumni from Moreno Valley College, Nathan Urena.
He's amazing.
Commissioner Urena. He's now the vice chair, former chair of the Environmental Historical Preservation Commission. Bright young man. He has a very bright future. I tell him that all the time, and many other youngsters that just have that it. They have that it factor. You could just see it and sense it. He's one of them. And he, when I asked him, he's like, he's amazed. He's surprised. You're like, me? I'm honored that you would ask me. That's just how humble he is, because he deserves it. So
2 things about him, I will say. Number one, initiative. My very first, I had kind of a internal meet and greet. I think it was my third day.
Yeah.
He showed up.
He talks
It was
about
there. I was like, whoa, okay.
He loves that.
And then the second thing, you talk about family. You talk about another leader who's grounded in family. He certainly is. So those are.
And there's another one I want to give him a shout out, Jason Ruiz.
Okay.
He went through the real estate program here with Professor Kama Burton.
Boy, real estate's getting some love on this episode. We're gonna have him on, Leslie. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, shout out to Jason.
yeah,
Just MPC is just producing amazing.
And I'll share something with you that he doesn't know, but my son he's a commissioner now for arts. But when he first wanted to apply, he was having a lot of obstacles on where to turn and how to turn in his application. So I said, don't worry, let me just look up the mayor's email. And I found it in public record, emailed him, and he responded the same day.
That doesn't happen often.
He's
so.
that type of person, I'm just saying.
Wow.
That responded,
No,
and then
actually-
with instructions on what to do, and we were able to get it
Actually,
done.
with
But-
my sample size on you, sir, it's been the same response time. It's like-
So,
Yeah,
you're
sometimes
right.
I almost get the impression you respond to me before I hit send. I think. I mean, that's
So,
that's
yeah.
how responsive
He
it's
really
been.
cares about the people here.
So this city has
know that. Thank you.
a number of issues that, of course, are facing many cities in our nation. One is housing insecurity. And again, going back to things that are priorities for you, that's something you're trying to address.
100%.
Talk to us a little bit about the initial steps you're taking and some of the bigger picture things you're looking for.
100%. Thank you for bringing this up. And I'm speaking as a general contractor, as now a licensed real estate agent as well. And obviously somebody that has worked in local government now for, it's going to be 9 years in June. So a lot of, experience with entitlements and development. I love to see it. I grew up in construction. My dad did construction his entire life since a teenager. And so when it comes to housing, there's so many different things that are factors in that equation. But I think the number one thing is lack of supply. How do we build more? And this is a problem nationwide. People like to talk bad about California. It's not just California. We're short about 3 million units nationwide. California, it's about 1 million plus. And so how do we build more? How do we get more supply introduced into the market? And that's, the trillion-dollar question that people are trying to figure out through 3D printing, through manufactured homes, right? Pre-manufactured, off-site, and then get it delivered and installed. How do we cut red tape, right? How do we pass legislation at the local level and in Sacramento to make it easier to build? There's so many different things that I can go into more detail on. And obviously at the city level, we control a lot of that because we either approve or deny neighborhoods, right? Residential tracts or apartment buildings, things of that nature. And we have to figure out when we're, when it's on our agenda in front of us and we're getting asked to cast our vote, okay, how many units, what's the density? Or is it a zone change? What kind of community benefits are they bringing? Are they going to build a park? Are they going to build out the sidewalks? All of those type of things we have to take into consideration.
Your answer is amazing and leads me to this question. What makes for a good place to build housing? What are the characteristics of a place where you would put the yes stamp down as opposed to no?
I think so many different things I could say, right? But one is the location. So, you have the private sector, the market that is most of the time building and sometimes public sector, but most of the time the private sector developers are building. They're the ones that have to go out and survey the land and see, okay, this land, this city makes more sense. This city is business friendly, right? They're development friendly. They have the right people. The staff would go to a city where there's, very little staff and the politics is just too much tension, too much controversy, it's too much risk. They want to go somewhere where it's just a little bit more, consistency and friendliness. And then from the consumer side, from the residents side, potential homeowners or renters, it's about okay, what's around me in the area? Are there parks available? Are there good schools near me? Are there good grocery stores and quality food nearby? Right? How far am I away from transportation? If I don't have a vehicle, or if I'm a teenager and my parents are working and they can't take me to practice or whatever, how far is the next bus stop from me? Or can I take my e-bike or a scooter to the nearest park to practice or to school for band practice or whatever that may be? All those things have to be taken into consideration.
One thread I kind of picked up on, not just your bio, but some other things that I've heard and read about you, is that one of the concerns you have is making Moreno Valley a destination place, meaning that when someone completes their education, that they stay here and that this is part of a community.
Yes, sir.
You spoke to parks, you spoke to schools, you spoke to transportation. What else is needed to kind of bring that sustainable resident to Moval?
Great question. Great question. And so I'll start first by looking at, who is Moreno Valley? So if you look at our demographics, again, go to the data and the statistics. Our median age is about 33 years old. The median Moreno Valley resident is about 33 years old with 1 or 2 children. So we are a younger city demographically.
So it's younger as
Yes.
opposed to what typical looks like.
Yes. And also, we're a commuter city still. So about 80% of our working population every day gets on the 60 or the 215, leaves town to go to work, right? So these are things that, to really set it up, right? I think that as a 30-year-old now, about to turn 31 later this month, I can really speak to that because again, it's about understanding, right? And as a husband that sometimes wants to, I want to do nice things for my wife, right? Like take her out to eat somewhere nice, or the kids go somewhere nice to a beautiful park or a museum or something like that. How do we create those opportunities in Moreno Valley so that our residents don't have to leave every weekend to go find those things in other cities, other counties? So those are the things that we're working on.
All right. One final time, we'll go ahead and remind our amazing audience, you are tuned in to Chat with the Prez, as always available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And thanks to all those who've subscribed to my amazing YouTube channel, which is now supported by one Leslie Vargas.
Yeah.
So part and parcel to all that is public safety. And I know that's also a big priority for you as a civic leader. What are next steps we need to take as a community? And in that way, I'll go ahead and say it. How can education help?
100%. All of these are tied together. So, building our first museum at the mall as we speak, a new dog park on the north side as we speak, a 4th library. During my time in office, we've opened 3 new libraries. Prior to that, we only had one, the one in Alessandro. So education, how do we bring these services and facilities and resources to the people?
I would suggest a bachelor's degree, maybe the first one in the Riverside Community College District in emergency management.
I like that.
A bachelor's that people can get for less than $10,000 total.
Clark Training Center.
Yeah, there we go. You saw me working there. Yeah. What else could we, what are some other things though?
Yeah. So when we talk about public safety, all these things really are more on the preventative side, right? Because they education, right? Knowledge is power. And by doing that, by investing into students, subsidizing through Mobile Learns, for example, the city subsidizing tuition for students here at the college, how do we alleviate and break down those barriers that are preventing people from getting their education, from getting the skills necessary to go on and build successful lives, as opposed to not having that assistance, not having that help, ending up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and things go south. So the combination of all these things, they lead into public safety. And of course, on the more live or reactionary side, how do we continue to fund our police and fire departments, our firefighters, so that they have the equipment, the facilities they need to respond to life-threatening situations? How do we continue to fund our police department to make sure that they're able to respond in emergencies and they can get there as quickly as possible, that we are able to find criminals that are doing horrendous things out in the community and bring justice to fruition? All these things are in combination, and we have to be able to tackle all of that.
I appreciated the proactive aspect of your response, because you talked about, instead of going right to police and number of police and things like that, you started talking about libraries. And you also kind of started to talk about the arts a little bit, and that's also a big thing on your agenda.
Yes.
If you have your way, 5-10 years from now, the arts in Moreno Valley, what's it going to look like?
So we for sure will have our first museum open, our immersive museum that's about 30,000 square feet on the first floor of the old Sears building. We're hoping, it got delayed a little bit, but we're hoping to open part of it by the end of this year. Of course, for about a year or two now, we've really just bloomed in terms of public art, murals and things of that nature, art programs. You see it here on Moreno Valley College campuses. Shout out to Rosie Cortez, beautiful mural right over here. Other artists like Patrick Barwinski, Juan Navarro, so many homegrown from the area that are now sharing their talents with us. I would love to see more of that. The vinyl utility program if we can get another museum in the future, that would be great. And then expanding the programming. So, what can we do with Moreno Valley College's art programs and clubs, and the Moreno Valley Unified School District, Valverde Unified, UCR, et cetera, and then philanthropy as well, right? You walk into any museum, you see the placards on the wall, sponsored by such and such and such. We need more of that, right? And it's a matter of asking. It's a matter of being proactive. I don't think we as a city have done that very well in the past, but we're not doing that anymore. We're making sure to take care of that.
Very proud of the partnership we have with the city of Moreno Valley. Obviously want to continue to cultivate it, but I also would speak equally highly of the partnerships we have with Moreno Valley and Valverde Unified School Districts.
Sure.
What has it meant to have that level of two unified school districts and a community college working together? Just from your perspective.
It's powerful. It's powerful because not many cities can say they have a community college in their city, right? A little jealous because UCR.
The number one.
Exactly. Like with the top performing college in the nation, right? To have that here in Moreno Valley, and then of course our two school districts, to be able to again have open lines of communication, with your office and the rest of your team. Same thing with both school districts. How do we align any policy that we're bringing forward and implementing, our budget, how we're allocating our funds, taxpayer dollars? How do we align that as much as possible with the same things that you're doing and that the school districts are doing? And that is happening, but it requires work. You have to be proactive and intentional about it. You have to reach out. An example, there are ongoing conversations about esports with both of the districts and the Innovation Center. Shout out Donnell Lane, Abraham, Joseph, all you guys over at the Innovation Center. I love being there. How do we continue to build on those partnerships that are already in place?
Don't know if you're aware of this, Mayor, but after the State of the City and after the iMake Innovation Center got its award, we had some meetings. Councilmember Delgado came to campus, and I actually had him officially walk it over to the center, and that was there were some pretty emotional people on that day, and it was something that was amazing.
Absolutely.
Leslie, I know you were talking to me beforehand about Spirit Lift a little bit. Maybe we could talk to.
Oh, you're right. And you did share that you co-founded Spirit Lift with your brother to mentor at-risk youth, which shows you're thinking about service, right? Even before you were in office. So what advice do you have for a Moreno Valley College student who wants to start making a difference through volunteering our clubs right now, rather than waiting till they graduate? And I know sometimes that they have to work still, but civic engagement is so critical.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, with my nonprofit, we dissolved it after a few years because I just didn't have the time anymore. And nonprofits require a lot of paperwork and reporting. And if you don't keep up with it, there are consequences. So, we had to just dissolve it because we didn't have the time anymore, but still was and continue to be actively involved on, you can either go out and volunteer. I mentioned food banks. I know on site here, on the campus, there are many opportunities to volunteer through clubs or other programs. So would really, just invite all of you to get involved with whatever, you might be passionate about or something that hits close to home, and get involved, put in even an hour or whatever it is to help and assist. And then out in the community, you can go to mymoval.org. There's a big list of nonprofit organizations that do various services around the city, and just, really put yourself out there, right? Put yourself out there, volunteer, make the time for it. It's not easy to start your own organization, but always happy to assist with that as well. And if you do need help with starting your own business or anything like that, I'll give a plug for the Business and Employment Resource Center, the City of Moreno Valley, the BERT. Yeah, a lot of free workshops, social media training, certificates, licenses, all that kind of stuff. The resources are there.
And to add to that, at the Burke, there is a desk, and Moreno Valley College staff are there and hold office hours and answer questions from the community. So it's an amazing partnership that's there. Going back again to reading about you, one of the things that also is on your agenda is getting more of business and industry here, specifically Fortune 500 level companies. What's the strategy there?
Yeah, so on that, I really have to give a lot of credit primarily to our economic development team. A shout out to our former city manager, Mike Lee, who before being city manager, was our economic development director. They're the ones that are out there at, conventions and conferences and meeting with the CEOs and owners of companies and convincing them on why they should come to Moreno Valley. And then us, obviously, on the political side, on the council, making sure that we are creating an environment that is friendly to business through, incentives. For example, we have Moreno Valley Utility, our electric utility. Not a lot of cities have their own electric utility. We do. How do we leverage that to offer incentives to the private sector, through discounts on your utility bill if you hire X amount or X percentage of Moreno Valley residents, for example, right? And all of our other small businesses as well. So how do we continue to find those opportunities to incentivize companies to come to Moreno Valley as opposed to leaving the state or going to other parts of the state? Those are things that we're constantly looking for. And
so not to talk business on the air, but how can we help you as a college? What can we do?
Well, you're already doing so much of it, right? But the workforce training and the education component. So when you talk to the private sector, obviously they have to hire people. They have to bring employees into their company. And many times they're going to look at, what kind of skills do they have, right? What certificates do they have? What associates, bachelor's degrees do they have? Do they have the education and the knowledge and the skills to work and produce within our company?
And what's in place for us that where we are answering that bell is just our career and technical education office under Dean Eric Anthony. We have Rosalinda Rivas, who just does such amazing things with apprenticeship, especially paid apprenticeships. And then also Nikki Cook in that office helps our graduates with employment and employment resource opportunities. So just closing, just quick comment, just your vision for the future, things you hope to see happen in Moreno Valley, especially as mayor.
Yeah. Again, thank you for having me on. And I hope that, when my time is done as mayor of Moreno Valley, that I'll be able to look back at a city that now is a regional destination where families and people want to come to, eat good food and have fun and entertainment, go hiking, go to the museum, go to our first rooftop hotel that's getting built off to 60 as we speak and is going to open around the summer of this year. How do we continue to do all these things that bring people to our city and really put Moreno Valley on the map? And we are collectively making that happen.
All right. I normally don't do this on the air, but I just want to thank you for coming and joining us today.
Thank you for coming.
Also, we're going to get a little role reversal today. You'll be the first guest I've had in 5 years of doing this, who in the same day will get to be asking me questions when I call the city council tonight. So again, thank you, Mayor. As we wrap up this edition of Chat with the Prez, I'd like to thank our guests, especially Mayor Cabrera today, amazing co-host Leslie Vargas, and those working behind the scenes. Chris, shout out to you to support this great program. More importantly, I'd like to thank you, our MVC and RCCD audience, as well as those up and down the great state of California. Whether you're tuning in from down south in the 619, huge shout out there, or the 858, or all the way up north to 717 and the 530, or if you're part of LinkedIn Nation, the Instagram crowd, or the YouTube audience, thank you so much for your support of this program. Most of all, if you're tuning in right here today from Paris, Rancho Las Perras, Nuevo, Good Hope, Lakeview, Lakeview Hot Springs, Mead Valley, Mission Grove, Orange Crest, Sedona, Woodcrest, El Casco, Paso de Lago, Moreno Knolls, Moreno Beach. Mayor, did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
Okay. And of course, those right here on campus at Moreno Valley College. As always, this is your show and we'd love to hear from you. So as we close up shop on this episode of Chat with the Prez and try to dodge all that traffic on LaSalle before getting onto the 215, the 60, the 10, or the 91, Leslie, great job today. Take us home.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Chat with the Prez, hosted by Dr. Rudy Besikof. This is co-host Leslie Vargas, and if you have a suggestion for a future show, please email us at prezhour@mbc.edu.